Wakefield. Leeds Rhinos have defended their crown.
And what a moment for Halifax Rugby League.
Austin is through and Warrington dominating. Great try for the Robins. Huddersfield Giants take the points home. Invested is a poor lad. That is one sensational try.
Look out with a drop goal. Leeds gather round in jubilation.
It's hit the post. It's Wellesby. Wellesby might have got the try. St Helens are champions once again.
Hello and welcome to The Last Tackle. The Super League is back and we have the second round of the Betfred Challenge Cup as well. So to talk Rugby League for the next 45 minutes or so, I'm joined by Paul Sculthorpe, and from the Daily Mirror, it's Gareth Walker. Gents, thanks for joining us. It's back and it's been a long off-season, hasn't it?
It certainly has, Mark, hasn't it? It's how good was it to see Rugby League and Super League back, you know, and all 6 games, you know, screened as well. So, you know, the fans got to see what they've been missing for a long while.
You work for the newspapers, Gareth, but a success story on the TV. Some record viewing figures for Super League.
Yeah, that was really encouraging, wasn't it? We saw some great games, didn't we? You know, we'd listened a lot about this long off-season that players had together, which is unusual in Rugby League, 12 weeks build-up. And the players delivered, didn't they? None more so, perhaps, than that Saturday afternoon when they said the figures were particularly good, culminating in that golden point win for Catalans.
We're going to be looking back at all the action, but we start on Friday night. It's the new boys, Leeds Centurions versus the Wigan Warriors.
Liam Hood waits. Hood's going to go himself, and Hood, has he found the line? Pick up and go hard, go low, and go with the determination. The Leeds Centurions way just now. Inside the 23rd minute, Wallace. Brierly, the runner, it's Thornley. Lee don't want the half-time hooter at all. Nice offload. They're in again down the centre of the field. Liam Hood, sensational break. What a kick. It's going to be another try. Powell. It was Partington, this is Luluai. Now it's Bateman. Manages to get the ball away. Isa, Bibby. And Wigan do cross before the break. Jake Bibby. Inches to work in, but he managed to do so successfully. It would be heartbreaking for Lee if they were to concede again. So close to the break. Bateman, silky skills. Bibby cuts back inside, manages to find an offload as well. On the other side of the main stand here, Joe Shorrocks, sensational cricketers. A sensational try is scored by Joe Bullock. Wigan got the set restart, and in the blink of an eye, the Warriors score their 3rd try of the evening. Hardacre stationed there again, and with 15 minutes to go, he's got away. Here's Zach Hardacre through the cover. He's quick as Hardacre. Hardacre against Brierly. Hardacre has support. Jake Bibby is there. Bibby to the line. In those living rooms back in Wigan.
So it was 20, Gareth, obviously. Lee would have been gutted after that 18-0 open. If Joe Mellor had picked that ball up, it could have been a different story, couldn't it? I
know, that was a pivotal moment, wasn't it? 18-0, the ball broke loose, he went upfield, and if he could just have gathered it, I think Lewis Tierney was right alongside him. They wouldn't have caught him, and it's 24-0. I've got to give some credit to Wigan for battling back. You know, they're missing a lot of players, and we've been told, you know, Jai Field, their new signing's got an injury that's going to keep him out for 5 months, so they'll be up against it in the backs, won't they? It is, yeah. But Lee, loads of positive signs as a team coming up with less preparation time than anybody else. There were some good signs there despite defeat.
Scully, typical Wigan in many respects, all at sea, looked awful, 18-0 down, come back, grind it out, win.
I think that's big game experience, isn't it? That, you know, when you're doing it tough, you know, you've got that composure to be able to pull it back, and that's what Wigan did. It was far from a polished performance, wasn't it? But all credit to Lee, as Gareth said. You know, they've had the less preparation of anybody. You know, a late inclusion into Super League as well. And I think one thing that Lee are never ever going to struggle with is that enthusiasm into games and aggression, and that's something that we saw from the off, and certainly against the local rivals, Wigan, there was never going to be any lacking of that. Maybe just that bit of quality at the back end of the game, and that big game experience and probably fitness.
And John Duffy said after the game, I've got to learn from this.
Yeah, they have, and I'm sure they will do. I'm sure they will. Just that bit of composure, and I think the more and more the games go on, the more and more Lee will learn from that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's still a great shout to be very competitive at that bottom end. They'll be very wary, I think, of not falling short in a load of games early on and ending up with no points after a certain amount of games. They will want to pick those wins up. But they've got a lot of Super League experience in that squad. There's some real quality. So as time goes on, I think they'll only get better. And I think it's going to be tight in the bottom half of the table.
Because there's a lot to talk about from Leeds' point of view. If it had just closed it out before half-time, obviously Jake, Beebe and Zach Hardacre could go over, it could have been a different story again, couldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure they'll look back on things like that, but I guess the key for them will be not looking back too much now. They've got to look at what's next, just getting better at what they didn't quite get there against Wigan. And I'm sure the wins will come fully.
Did we learn anything about Wigan? Or was that just a normal Wigan performance?
Well, I think we've learned that they're still a resilient team, aren't they? 18-0 down was almost 24-0 down. And I think they went into the game with 5 first-choice backs missing. That became 6 when Field went down. So that they can win with players shuffling into positions. And, that's what the best teams do, isn't it? That's why those teams are normally at the top of the table, because they find a way to win at those moments when it's tough.
Yeah, I think Gareth nailed it there. The resilience of Wigan. I say it wasn't a polished performance, but we know Wigan have got that in them to fight back, and that's one thing they'll never give up. And they've got an abundance of quality players in there. They were missing a lot, but you see the likes of Zach Hardacre when they turn the screw and they get that opportunity, you could just see that Wigan fight back coming.
We've already mentioned we had a golden point this weekend in the Super League. We'll save that for a little later, but let's have a look back at the other 4 matches from round 1. Here's Lewis.
St Helens got their title defence off to the perfect start. It took Tommy Makerson just over 2 minutes to open the scoring against Salford. They were made to wait another half an hour for their next try. Regan Grace on the other wing, capitalising on a Salford error. The Red Devils stuck at it and were back in the game when Kencio scored, but by the time Alex Walmsley went over, the win was safely in the bag for Saints.
Fancies his name on the score sheet, gets his name on the score sheet.
They may have ended up on the wrong end of the result, but Wakefield will be encouraged with their performance against Leeds. This the first of 2 brilliant tries from Tom Johnston, an ominous start to a World Cup year for the winger. Trinity was 16-4 up before Leeds kicked into gear. Brad Dyer restoring parity just before half-time.
And trying to burst their way over, and it's Dwyer.
Johnston was at it again in the second half, picking off Luke Gale's kick, and with half an hour left on the clock, the game was balanced at a knife edge.
The chase is on, but nobody is going to catch him.
It would be Leeds celebrating at full-time, however, Jack Broadbent getting the winner. Ian Watson and Brett Hodgson took charge of their new sides for the first time, but it was the latter who would have been happier when Jake Connor opened the scoring. Hull FC quickly had another. Jake Connor involved again, sending Josh Griffin over in the corner. And it was another Josh, Reynolds this time, who put Hull FC out of sight in the second half with this try. And by the time James Gavitt crossed for Huddersfield second, it was simply a consolation for the Giants. From 2 new coaches to 2 on their farewell tour, Darryl Powell's Castleford side took the lead when Oliver Holmes pounced on Josh Charnley's mistake. Warrington quickly hit back, however, when Toby King got the better of Niall Levels in the air. Evels is a new signing for Cass, and he was quick to make amends, wrong-footing Connor Wrench to open his account for the season.
Gets the pass away to Evels, and Niall Evels is over the line. Has he got that down?
Yes, he's got it.
And the fullback was involved again shortly after, putting another debutant, Jordan Turner, in the corner. From this point on, Cass looked comfortable, and it's perhaps fitting that the reigning man of steel, Paul McShane, rounded off the weekend with a drop goal.
We've still got one more game to show you, and that is the golden point as well. Right, this is going to be the most pot kettle comment you can ever hear on TV, but Robert Hicks needs a haircut.
That's an impressive beard as well he's got there, isn't it?
Yeah. We're all desperate for a barbers to
Let's down with the beard, Mark. Come on, you've done a good job with the hairdo. But
all right, I need a haircut. Right, let's start with Saints. Well, at times I thought they were fantastic, especially Theo Farge.
Yeah, big fan of Theo, always have been. I thought it was a good performance from Saints, certainly for the first game of the year. Again, not polished, but it's not going to be, I think clinical, and obviously, Johnny Lomax had a big game. Me and Gareth were just saying then about the number of carries. The great thing with Johnny playing 6, he's a great organiser and can distribute the ball, but he's a running threat, and I think his running game, was exceptional for round 1.
And Saints set the tone early, didn't they, with that Tommy Makinson try? Yeah,
that's one thing I love about Tommy, and Matt Percival did it as well. For his tries, he's attacking, attacking kicks. It's one bugbear of mine of how when attacking teams are kicking, you wait for defenders to catch the ball and then tackle them. Go and attack the ball, and we got 2 tries from it. But yeah, Tommy obviously has had a good pre-season, a good break, and come back sharp.
Obviously, Saints are going to be up there come the end.
Yeah, without doubt. I mean, the main men stood up, didn't they? Like we mentioned, Johnny Lomax and James Roby again. If you watch James Roby play for the first time, you'd think, what a player he is. But because he does it every week, it does sometimes get overlooked. But yet again, he was fantastic. Farge's kicking game caused them all kinds of problems. It's impossible not to see them in the top 2 or 3 at least.
And what about Salford?
Salford, Elijah Taylor was great, a fantastic debut, brought everything that we thought he would, massive industry in attack and defence. Generally, things didn't quite click for them, I think, but they will definitely get better. That's the first game under a new coach, Richard Marshall. They've got some quality in the squad. They weren't expected to start fantastically, I don't think, but they'll definitely improve.
Hull 22, Huddersfield 10. I was impressed with Hull. They look well balanced.
Yeah, that was up there in terms of performances this weekend. I think they showed some great touches, Jake Connor, and we'll move on to Josh Reynolds. He was definitely worth talking about. But they just looked a lot more solid defensively. They were set up fantastic. They made very few errors. The kick chase and little things like that, there was loads of enthusiasm in it. They looked like everything you'd want under a new coach. And then Connor, and especially Reynolds, just sprinkled a bit of quality when it mattered.
You mentioned Jake Connor last week in our build-up show. Yeah. He got a try, played really well, and Josh Reynolds got a debut try as well.
Yeah, I thought Josh Reynolds and Mark Sneed looked really good together, and that probably allows Jake Connor just to concentrate on his own game, like we spoke about, from fullback. But I agree with Gareth again. I think it was more the attitude-based stuff, like the speed of line on defence, the kick chase. It's the sort of stuff that Hull, over the previous years, we've seen them do it in stops and starts, and it's, if you want to compete to win Super League titles, you can't do that. Your best teams do it week in, week out, and Hull have got the ability. They've got the playing roster to be able to do that. I think for me in the past, it's been an attitude thing, and that could change.
We're going to talk about the fixtures coming up shortly, though. But they're away at Salford. Everyone's playing at the Totally Wicked Stadium, but they play Salford away in theory this weekend. So you want to see him put in performance now, don't you? Because that's been the problem with Hull.
That's it. It's backing that up week in, week out, and certainly, no disrespect to Salford, but they're not coming off the best performances. You said there's big changes in their playing staff, new coach. It's probably the time to play them and get on that roll and keep building that confidence.
What about Huddersfield then, Gareth? 6 debutants, no Aidan Caesar, which is obviously a miss.
Yeah, definitely. I think on his day he's as influential as anybody in Super League when he plays well, so he was going to be a miss for them. And a couple of guys that got overlooked, Michael Lawrence didn't play, he was so consistent for them. And Jake Wardle in the centre, who could be a World Cup ball he was missing too. So they were missing a few key men. It just didn't quite click for them at halfback. They lost Caesar, and even then we thought Gaskell might drop into halfback. He played fullback. So it was Cogger and Russell at halves, and it just didn't quite work. But again, under a new coach, loads of new faces, they're only going to get better, Huddersfield.
Wakefield Leeds. I saw Luke Gale after the game. He said he felt they were all a bit ring rusty.
Yeah, I think that's possibly a fair comment. I think Leeds will look at it like that. Wakefield certainly had the moments, didn't they? 16-4 up. And Tom Johnston, arguably the star of the weekend too. Fantastic long-range tries. And again, when we're talking World Cup year, he's putting his stamp on earlier, what he wants to achieve. He didn't shy away from that after the game when he was asked about it. And what a talented player he is.
I suppose at the end of the day, though, Leeds have done their job and got the win.
Yeah, the main thing is getting them 2 points. Certainly, performance is going to improve. As you say, it's the first game of the season. A lot of changes in playing staff, and Leeds have got injuries as well at the moment, which are going to come back and strengthen their performance. But a big rap, young Jack Broadbent, I thought looked outstanding. He's certainly one for the future.
And what about Castleford versus Warrington? Two coaches we definitely know are leaving, and Castleford come away with the spoils.
Yeah, good performance from Cass. You know, to see some of their play. You know, Paul McShane carried on from where he left off, didn't he? Current Man of Steel. And good to see Jake Truman back, you know, fully fit. And
we spoke about him in the show last week. Niall Evans played very, very well for Castleford.
Yeah,
might have just solved that. Well, probably that full-back problem since Zach Hardaker, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's consistent as well, Niall. You know, both on attack and defence, and you know, I think that was a great signing for them. We mentioned him last week about being, you know, a strike player, and certainly looked at on week one. As I said, you know, they're only going to get better, but Warrington will be massively disappointed with their performance and a loss.
Yeah, it is only one game, but if you're a Warrington fan, do you begin to start getting worried, or?
Well, I think it's fair to say there's possibly more disappointment among Warrington fans than most clubs at the moment. You know, with the way they finished last season, I think they wanted the team to come out and show them a bit something different, especially in attack, where the whole Widder Poston thing still don't seem to have got to the bottom of why that's not working. And I think fans would have hoped that they'd come out, you know, and played a bit differently, had a real crack. And they didn't. They were disappointing again. Steve Price looked really disappointed after the game. I think they need a big performance quickly to get those fans back on side.
And that's strange for both coaches to announce that they're both going the end of season?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of getting used to it with players, where, you know, players are going somewhere next year, but coaches are a bit different, isn't it? The man in charge of the whole team. It must be an unusual situation. What you'd say about that from that evidence was it looked like Castleford are the more likely to send their coach out on a high.
Certainly, yeah. It's going to be tough for Warrington, but we are got Lee next on Saturday, on Friday, in fact. Good Friday, Warrington versus Lee. But let's turn our attention to the game of the weekend. It was a golden point game, and the Catalan Dragons were in control.
This year, late hits on passes and kickers.
We need to protect our ball handlers.
Lewis does well, Mikey Lewis. Oh, does really well. That's a superb solo try from 19-year-old Mikey Lewis. A glimmer of hope for Hull Kingston Rovers. But what a special try that was.
There's a lot of obstacles in the way of Catalan on a normal basis, but that's just added to it. Good kick.
It there, Quinlan now. Ball goes out. Oh, picks him up. Ryan Hall goes in for a second try. Laguerre with the tackle. Lytton. Abdul towards the corner. Ryan Hall! And Ryan Hall wins the race! Would you believe it? As well, so close to the try line. King will score underneath the post! Absolutely incredible! George King! Still a couple of tackles left in the set. It was Cassiano who caused the problems. And here is Morg. Morg goes through. The young man, brilliant from Arthur Morg. What a break. Now then, the ball goes back. Maloney to win it for the Catalan Dragons. And James Maloney gets the job done. It was young Arthur Morg with the sensational break. And it's the boot of James Maloney.
What a game.
Fantastic, and that's the game that we're told that breaks the records, or the highest TV viewing figures for 15 years, I think they've said. What a climax, you know, for people sitting down in front of the TV on a Saturday tea time, to turn on and watch that climax to the game must have been terrific. Loads to admire in it. Catalan started well. Hull KR, we've talked about resilience, you know, I don't think anyone would have batted an eyelid if they fold at 28-4, I think it was. Stirring comeback, yeah. And just
12-0, 18-4 at half-time, and then 28-4, yeah.
Yeah, so fair play to them coming back. And great to see Ryan Hall back in Super League with a hat-trick and a terrific after-match interview as well, I think, which got a lot of attention on social media.
Yeah, Ryan Hall hat-trick at Headingley.
Yeah, he's scored a few there, hasn't he? You know, great to see Ryan back and, you know, see him back in Super League and obviously come back in good form, had a good pre-season, looked really, really well, really fit, and, you know, to throw another hat-trick in there in his first game was what you'd expect from Ryan Hall, isn't it?
And can Hull KR, obviously they're disappointed over the golden point, but they've got to take a lot of heart from that. 28-4 down.
Yeah, they will do. You know, I think I like watching Hull KR. Last year they seemed like they not care in the world, and you know they love to throw the ball about and express themselves, and Great comeback. They obviously showed the resilience there. But yeah, again, Catalan. They did the best, didn't they, to steal defeat from the jaws of victory. But they got the win in the end, and a big game player, James Maloney.
I mean, we talk about consistency of both of those clubs, I think Hull KR and Catalans, and we've seen that within one game, haven't we? Both teams probably very happy with half of that match and probably looking at the other half thinking there's some old problems there that we still need to fix up. So they'll move forward onto week 2 and look to be more consistent within the 80 minutes, I'm sure.
And plenty of new signings, but Sam Tompkins still pulling the strings at the Catalan Dragons.
Yeah, absolutely, hugely influential. There seems to be a real determination about him in that when he did his pre-season media and stuff, again, another player that the World Cup was thrown at straight away, and he's not shied away from the fact that he wants a big year, he wants that World Cup shirt, and I think we saw that in round 1.
And you mentioned his interview after the game. Great to see Ryan Hall get off to a great start, isn't it, personally?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not only is he a great player and a genuine star of the competition, but a character, he's a bit different the way he talks to the media than other players. He's always got something interesting to say. He showed that again on Saturday night, and he'll be a great asset for Hull KR on and off the field.
It's only round 1. Obviously, that was a standout game. What do you think was a standout performance this weekend, Dan?
I think Hull FC still, I think they've laid down a marker there under Brett Hodgson. All the things that people spoke about, what Hull need to improve on, the consistency of performance, being solid in defence, all the good signs were there for them. And I also think Josh Reynolds was just fantastic to watch. He's one of those players where there's something happening every time he's around the ball. He took the line on consistently. He scored a try, ended up with a head bandage on. He started a bit of a fight. He made a break with his shorts falling down. There was always something going on. And I think he's going to be one to watch every weekend this year.
Scully, what stood out for you?
Yeah, I agree. I think Hull FC, you mentioned Josh Reynolds as well. We spoke last week about him being a controversial character, but the boy can play, and I think it showed that. I think they took a bit of responsibility off Mark Sneed as well, and Jake Connor as well. Allowing him to play and enjoy his game at fullback, and watch this space. Hopefully, he can be consistent week in, week out, and Hull can compete.
But that's the real key. We said it, didn't we, last week? Hull have got to be more consistent.
Yeah, they've got to be week in, week out, and we spoke about the Salford game coming up. This week it's a big one for them to back up that performance now.
Round 2 is dedicated to Mossy Massoy in the Betfred Super League, and Lewis caught up with the man himself.
Mossy, it's great to see you. Fantastic to see you looking so well. How are you, mate?
I've just come back from physio, so legs are hanging on, but just doing little bits every day, just trying to get better. I'm really trying to work on my balance. I actually have to go in for a knee operation to try straighten my knee so I can balance, get better balance on my legs. So hopefully I can suss that out, and I'll have about 3 or 4 falls a week just because of balance. So that's the struggle at the moment, but like I said, it could have been worse. And where I was 14 months ago compared to where I am today, I'm just grateful for what I got. Because it's not only just the physical side, it's also stuff inside, the internal stuff, and psychologically, it's quite tough. But I've been pretty lucky to have the support that I have, and sometimes I feel guilty because there's a lot of other people out there in similar situations to myself that haven't, and they're doing it tough. And I just wanted to let them know that we're all just grinding away and trying to do better.
Well, your family, your friends are doing your bit to help other people in your situation. Round 2 of the Betfred Super League is Mossy Massoy round as such. There's the Mossy Massoy Foundation, which we're trying to raise money for. Just kind of give us a brief explanation as to what that is and what it does.
I can't take any credit for the foundation. There was a collective of people that really cared about my family and I. Started off by Neil Hydrell, and he reached out to a few friends of his, and they heard about the situation that I was in and what's going on, and they come up with this foundation not just to help myself and the family, but people in the future, and that hopefully, touch wood, it never happens to them, but if it does, there's going to be some more support there for them. Ever since day one, since my accident, people have been there from the beginning, and they're still here, and they're still just want the best for me. And yeah, I can't thank the whole entire rugby league community, and even people not associated with rugby league. Not just from over here in the UK, but all around the world, over in Australia and New Zealand. So it's been massive support. You know, I've made heaps of great friends, met a lot of good people, you know, through rugby, and yeah, we won't take the weather, but you know, the people, yeah, the people that we've met has made our time here so much better. It's you know, even through such a bad injury, you know, the positives are the people that I've met and made friends with, and hopefully continue to be friends in the future.
So it's Mossy Masoi around, and fans are encouraged to buy virtual tickets for the Easter fixtures, which of course include a clash between the two clubs that Mossy played for, Hull KR and St Helens. You can also text in as well. The information is at the mossymasuifoundation.co.uk. Let's hope we raise plenty of money for him. Great to hear from him, and obviously great to see. I mean, it's so tough for him.
It is, yeah, and it's entirely
going
typical.
In the right direction.
Yeah, it's entirely typical when you listen to that interview there. He's talking about other people who he thinks might be in a worse position than him, and that's come through right from the start with Mossy Masoi. And just the attitude that he's had towards it has been absolutely remarkable. It's been fantastic to see the game kind of rally around him, and this foundation started to help other people as well who might find themselves in the same position. I think we've seen the Australian clubs getting on board as well as all our Super League ones as well, because there's a lot of good feeling about, you know, what kind of a person he is, not just a great player obviously, and hopefully as much money as possible is raised to help him and his family this weekend.
We've spoken a lot over the last few months about the Rugby League family, and again, Super League recognising what Mossy's done and what he's planning to do.
Yeah, what a great initiative from Super League, you know, to support Mossy and do the virtual ticket. You know, fans are at home watching the game, and you know, if everybody can contribute, you know, it's going to a great cause, not only for Mossy but for others in need as well. And what an inspirational man, you know, from day one, from his accident. You know, I remember Mike Rush when we signed him at St Helens, showed me a video of him before he come over. He said the smiling assassin, and you know, that smile's never left him, has it? Even through what must have been the darkest of times. You know, he's such an inspirational man.
Yeah, keep fighting, Mossy, and it's a Mossy Masoi Foundation Co.uk, and it's got the details about how to text to make a donation and how to buy the virtual tickets as well. Let's have a look at your Easter fixtures. No Wigan St Helens, but of course you don't want Wigan versus St Helens, do you? When there's no crowd. That's a Challenge Cup draw. I tell you what, we'll do the fixtures in the Super League in a minute. Let's talk the Challenge Cup draw for a few moments. So York City Knights versus Wigan, that'll be live on the Sportsman. You got Swinton versus Warrington, Hull KR versus Cass, Catalans versus Wakefield. That's going to be live on BBC Two on Saturday the 10th of April. Featherstone versus Hull, St Helens Leeds, that's live on BBC One on Saturday the 10th. Lee versus Huddersfield, Salford versus Widnes. So Catalans, Wakefield, St Helens Leeds live on the BBC. York City Knights versus Wigan on the Friday night, live and free on the Sportsman. The other games are on the Our League app. First of all, let's talk about St Helens versus Leeds.
Yeah, two big guns there. I bet both coaches had a bit of a rile smile when that came out. They probably want to avoid that one. But great for TV viewers and everybody else that they'll clash. It gives the whole round a real marquee match, doesn't it? And they'll go out on live television, and it's a tough one to call. You know, people have underestimated Leeds in the Cup last year. I think they weren't expected to beat Wigan in the semi, where they came up with the goods, and I'm sure St Helens won't be underestimated this time.
You'd have preferred not to draw Leeds, wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course you would. You'd take the easiest route, you know, to the final. Of course, you know, it's all about winning at Wembley. But you know, if you always say if you're going to win it, you've got to beat the best teams out there. And Leeds Saints is certainly a clash. You know, a lot of the other teams around that, I think we spoke about it last year with the condensed cup now and the rounds. That, you know, some of them lesser clubs who've never been to Wembley, you know, might fancy the chances of getting there, and certainly with one of the big guns out of the equation.
Live in the Sports, I'm looking forward to York versus Wigan.
Yeah, fantastic, and we'll get to see that smart new stadium as well, and York packed full of Super League experience. Wigan are still going to be missing a lot of players there. You know, they will fancy having a crack at them, I'm sure. I'm not saying York are going to win, but I think they'll certainly be a test for Wigan, and I think that Featherstone Hull game stands out as well to me. A repeat of the classic 1983 final, and another Championship club that'll be relishing welcoming a Super League team onto the home ground, I think.
Such a shame there's going to be no crowds.
I know those two games perhaps more than most stick out. You think they'd be pretty full, wouldn't you, both at York and Featherstone? There'd be big away supports because I think that, you know, the Super League fans would like to go to those grounds as well, so that's a shame. But still, they should be terrific viewing.
And it's great that we've got a Challenge Cup back as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah, of course it is, and hopefully, you know, come final time, you know, we might see a crowd of some sort at Wembley.
I think there's a very good chance.
Yeah,
17th of July, isn't it? So,
you know, hopefully, you know, everything goes to plan, you know, with the world, and yeah, we can see. Who knows who's going to be there as well? You know, there's some great games there though for that first round.
So that's the Challenge Cup, which is not this weekend, it's the weekend after. So it's 2 games live on the BBC, a game live on the Sportsman, that's York versus Wigan, and the other games on the Our League app, so you won't miss any of the action. But let's talk about this weekend's Super League fixtures. So normally we have, obviously, Wigan versus Saints on Easter weekend, but rightly so. The Super League have decided to save that because you want to have fans for that game, don't you?
Yeah, of course, it makes sense, doesn't it, to save your biggest games for when we've got crowds, and yeah, it won't be the same. You know, it's something we used to. Good Friday, the Saints Wigan derby. I've been fortunate to play in many of them, but as you say, you want to see fans there. You want to see that atmosphere in a derby game, and you know, hopefully see that later down the line.
Let's go back to those fixtures. We start on Thursday night. Wigan versus Wakefield, and I think Wakefield can certainly take from some heart from that performance against Leeds.
Absolutely, I think they'll look at the way they played against Leeds for long periods of time, and the fact that Wigan obviously stumbled a bit against Lee and they've had more injury problems since then. I think Wakefield will fancy their chances in that game.
Hull Cow Saints.
Yeah, an away game for Saints at the Totally Wicked. You know, it's
strange times we live in, Scully.
It is strange times, but you know, Hull KR again. You know, talking about the likes of Wakefield. You know, they'll take heart out of. You know, it was a defeat, but you know, they certainly ran Catalan close, and you know, we'll look at taking that performance into the game against the champion.
Warrington Lee. I don't want to get carried away, but there's a bit of pressure on Warrington going into this now, isn't there?
I think that's a big game for the Wolves. I don't think it's just a case of winning. I think those fans want to see a different kind of performance and them kind of stamp their authority on a bit, and these big name players, you know, stand up and perform, and it won't be easy against a Leeds team who will feel that they can compete with anyone, having pushed Wigan close. And
finishing Good Friday, Leeds Cass, always a tasty game.
Yeah, always a derby game, and obviously both teams coming off a win. I think that's set to be a cracking game.
Salford Hull, we've mentioned it already. It'll be interesting to see how Hull perform in this one.
Yeah, the test for them now is this consistency thing and backing it up, isn't it? I think they'll come across a Salford team that will be better for that run out against St Helens with their new signings and playing under Richard Marshall. So it won't be easy for Hull, and it'll be a good indication of where both clubs are going this year, I think.
And Huddersfield, Catalan, anything could happen.
Yeah. I think that Huddersfield will be looking to still build, obviously, on on Ian Watson, how he wants them to play. Catalan, I think they'll be looking to improve on that second half performance. You know, where they nearly threw the game away, but we know what they're capable of. You know, it's can they do it for 80 minutes?
So that is this weekend's fixtures. But let's look back at last weekend and have Try of the Week.
Hello and welcome to the Our League Try of the Week. I'm Dave Woods. Let's have a look at this week's contenders.
Try one this week comes from the Super League game between Warrington and Castleford. Not a lot that Castleford don't know about Darryl Clark. They'll know about his energy and his pace. Look at that, absolutely shoots out like a bullet from a gun to score that try. Try 2, Hull against Huddersfield. Jake Connor looking for England selection maybe at the end of the year, ghosting through, bamboozling the defence. A sleight of hand and a step here, and over he goes. Try 3 is from the Challenge Cup, Batley against Featherstone. I'm not sure if Johnny Campbell actually planned to do this, but it was brilliant nonetheless. Dropped it on his foot, little kick over the top, and diving in to score. Frustration from the Featherstone defence. Have a look again. Drop, kick, and off he goes. And he gets there. Try 4 is from the same game, but this time it's Chris Wellham against Batley. Look at the offload here from New Brown. The ball is spilt by Batley. Brown picks it up and somehow gets it away, and over in the corner goes Wellham. Look at the hands and the opportunity created. Try 5 is also from the Cup. Lewis Else from Widnes, tricking his way over from dummy half. And finally, try 6. Tom Johnston with a worldie on the very first weekend of the season. In and out of Tom Briscoe. Lines up Richie Myler. Goodbye, Richie Myler. It's the pace that absolutely burns him. And over in the corner. Wow. Again from Tom Johnston.
You can vote on the Our League app. I think probably save the best till last.
I thought Tom Johnson was hard done to there. I thought it was going to be, but yeah, obviously the last one there from Tom, and it could have been one of 2 that he scored as well. Outstanding tries.
And after the year we've had, it's great to see the Championship teams back in the Challenge Cup.
Yeah, absolutely, and starting in the league this weekend as well. It means so much to those communities. You know, those clubs, it's no lesser than the Super League clubs, what it means to those fans in those local areas. So for them to be back on the field, they've obviously had a longer break because they didn't come back last year, is a tremendous boost for those clubs.
Yeah, the Championship is back this weekend. All the games are on the Our League app, as by the way, if you want to watch the games. I think the pick is probably York City Knights versus Toulouse at 4:30 on Saturday. But Lewis has picked out some players to watch in the Championship.
Betfred Championship is back. It's been a long 12 months off for all of these clubs, players and supporters, but it returns this week. 7 games of what promises to be real, honest, rock and roll rugby league, all available to watch pay-per-view on the Our League app. And of course, with such a long layoff, there's been plenty of players moving and shaking between clubs. A few players coming in from overseas, new signings, and some returning fan favourites as well. So I've had a look through. I've picked 5 that I'm really looking forward to see play this season. I'm going to start in the south of France. Toulouse, this man, Marc Carella, bold statement, but he's the best player in the Championship. He can do it all. Run, kick, pass. He's got a great football brain. He's hugely important to the way Toulouse play. Extremely exciting player. Definitely one to look out for if you're watching them this season. We're going to make the short jump across the channel now to London. This man, Abbas Miski, new signing, Lebanese international, never really got the chance to show what he could do in the NRL. Had a fantastic World Cup in 2017. Big athletic winger, could be a real weapon for the London Broncos. We're going to stay in the east, we're going to go north to Newcastle. Kieran Gill, one of a few players for Newcastle who will be looking to prove themselves in the Championship after promotion. He's got a ridiculous strike rate, 35 tries in 28 games in League One for Thunder. Can he transfer that into the Championship and be the weapon that we know he can be in League One? It's a different division. I've got every confidence that he will do it again. Now, this man, Adam Lawton, made a massive impact at Widnes in 2014, dropped off the radar a bit and then popped up at Salford a few years ago. Super League experience now, big human being, physical player. He should be a real weapon to Widnes as well, and we saw him in try-scoring form there. And we'll finish off with Connor Robinson. Brilliant for York in League One, 2018 League One Player of the Season. Clever halfback, likes to run the game, ball in his hands, and he will just kick teams to death. He's at Halifax now, back at a club that he's been at before. A really good signing for them. Can't wait to see how he goes. Cannot wait for the Betfred Championship to return. Well, it all kicks off this weekend. It's all available pay-per-view on the Our League app.
Cheers, Lewis. You could have tucked your shirt in at least, couldn't you? But yeah, look, I just think it's great to have, after the year we've had, it's just great to have a Championship back.
It certainly is. You know, there's some great players as we've just seen with Lewis there. You know, really looking forward to some of the games, and I think there'll be an extra dimension this year with a lot of Super League clubs losing the reserve grade. I know a lot of the younger players from Super League clubs have moved to Championship clubs. There's been some great recruitment, and there's a lot of good young players, you know, coming through the Betfred Championship this year. So I think there'll be some great games, and to see how some of the teams have worked over the off season is going to be exciting.
Who are the teams to watch? Is it Toulouse, London, York, Featherstone?
Featherstone as well, yeah. I genuinely think there'll be 8 clubs at least that think they can make those playoffs. I think Toulouse and Featherstone deserve to be the front runners before the season kicks off. Both signed lots of Super League players. I think Toulouse have signed an entire Super League pack, so that's kind of signalled their intent. But there'll be others coming into it as well. You know, I'm certainly excited to see that York-Toulouse game. I think that will give us some good early indications about those 2 clubs.
And the Championship's coming back, and the Betfred Women's Super League coming back in April as well. Obviously, they've had this huge break.
Yeah, that's great to see. That is one area of the game that can have a huge growth over the next few years and grow Rugby League overall. So terrific to see their fixtures announced. The women's game has grown tremendously, you know, aligning with Super League clubs, getting sponsors like yourselves on board, you know, the main events going on to standalone grounds and having proper events around them and being on live TV. They've all added up to help the women's game and hopefully that growth continues.
Right, we're in the 26th season of the Super League. Super League celebrated 25 years this week, and there's a very special documentary on 25 years of the Super League. Watch this.
And the European Super League is underway.
But looking back on that night, I mean, did any of us think it was going to happen in the first place? No. Did we think it would happen in Paris and we'd get 17,000, nearly 18,000 people there? No. But the game took off. It was a fantastic match, and Paris Saint-Germain won it in the end. I mean, it was just a fairy tale for the game in France. Paris, I mean, yes, the game had been played there previously. I'm sure that Tony can give you more detail on that than me. But never before had a club game been played there involving a British and a French team. And we got all those people there on the night. We had a West End stage show, and then the game kicked off. And it was just unbelievable. It was a fantastic night. We built up to it all the way through the previous winter season. We've been thinking, this is it, this is it. And of course, March the 29th, it was high spring in the French capital. It was just a wonderful, wonderful occasion. And it really was a privilege to be there.
And if you want to watch that documentary, it's on the Sportsman's YouTube page. God, 25 years makes me feel old.
Makes me feel old as well. When I was playing in the opening season, you know, I remember that.
You're not that old, are you?
That Paris Sheffield game, like it was yesterday. You know, our time has flown.
25 years ago, Scully.
I know it's unreal. I don't feel any different. But it's certainly am. But yeah, what a success it's been as well, and you know, some iconic moments. One over Eddie's shoulder there. What I was you know, fortunate to be part of the Wide to West, and some great moments over those 25 years.
A lot of people are critical of things in Rugby League, Gareth, but I've just got a good feeling about this year after what we've gone through with COVID. We've got the World Cup to look forward to. We've had a great start in the Super League. The women's games coming back. The Championship's back this weekend. We've got a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, COVID's been bad for so many things generally, but I think in Rugby League, what it has done is brought an element of unity back to the game. I think there's a realisation that everyone in the sport has to be in it together, and I think Rugby League is at its strongest when we're like that and the clubs are together and they have a common goal. There's loads of storylines all over Super League, Championship, League One, women's game, and like you said, with the World Cup at the end of the year, every weekend we can say, well, what about if he plays in the World Cup or she does, or you know, what are their prospects for the World Cup at the end of the year? And I think that'll add to the excitement throughout 2021.
And isn't it great to be back to be actually talking about some games as well?
It is, you know, that's what the game's all about. It's about the products on the field, and that's, you know, for me, that, you know, we're the best in the world at that. It's the best game to watch. You know, and let's, like Gareth said, you know, continue to grow this great game. You know, we've got everything to shout about. You know, let's continue to bang the drum, and it's them players on the field that do the biggest.
Thanks, gents. Really enjoyed your company. So the Betfred Super League is back. The Championship is back at the weekend, and we'll be back every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock throughout the season. See you soon.